In this video, I'm going to teach you 2 hand building methods alongside with using these 5 basic tools. So first we're going to start with the tools. The 5 tools are your standard kitchen fork, a needle tool, a bamboo brush, and these 2 are the same tool but 2 different types. One is a wooden rib and one is a metal rib. The metal rib is really flexible and has a sharp edge. The wooden tool is very stiff and has a more smooth, rounded edge. We're also going to use a little water as well. So first we'll start with the 2 methods. The first method is the pinch method. And basically you're going to take your clay and with your hands you're going to push and literally pinch the clay into the shape in which you desire. So for this project we're making a bowl, so I'm going to pinch my clay into the shape of the bowl in which I want. Remember, reference your drawings when you make all your projects. That way you have a goal to reach when you're doing this. So I'm simply pushing the clay around in order to make both height and width of my piece. Once I've reached a desired size, we'll say that's the size I want, I'm going to set that down on my board. You'll notice I'm using this nice wooden board. The intent for the board is that when I'm building my piece, I don't have to keep moving it off of this table or whatever. I can move the board, not my piece all the time. So that's the simple pinch method. You can also make your piece taller or skinnier as you desire, simply by pinching and pushing the clay around. Occasionally the clay will split on you, like areas like these, and all you have to do is push it back together with your hands or your fingers. Now, the coil method is simply a process of taking your clay, starting with a cylinder shape like that. We'll start with a smaller piece. And what we're going to do is put it on the table, and with our hand, starting from your palm all the way to your finger, you're going to roll the clay under your hand. You're gently putting pressure down on the clay in order to push it out and to spread out the clay into a long, thinner coil. Now, this piece of clay is just big enough for my hand, so I can use one hand for now. As I keep pushing, if I push too much in one spot, I get this flatter area here like this, and a rounder area like this on this side. So in order to keep from doing this, you want to have nice, even pressure. And now you also notice that this piece of clay is too wide for my hand. So now I have to use 2 hands. So with even pressure, I roll the clay. I'm going to use part of this because it's getting really big. Now, your coil doesn't have to be exactly the same thickness, but it is a good idea to keep it pretty even on the thickness so that when you put another piece together, the height stays the same. For most coil pieces, you like to start with a base. So I've already started a base here. This is simply a pinched bowl, like we did earlier, just like this, that I've just kind of gone through and refined and made it nice and even. So with my coil, I'm going to now apply this coil to this bowl by doing 2 things. Slip and score. Now first, we start with the scoring process. That's where your needle tool comes in handy. You take your needle tool and you apply pressure and basically scratch or score the surface, like so. You want to go both ways. A crisscross pattern to give you an even or uneven tooth. Another simple way to do this is to use your house fork. So instead of having one little point, you get to have 4 points. This is easier. A little faster. Now you notice I'm using my hand as a support on the side of my bowl because the clay is really soft and flimsy. So if I were to just go at it with my fork without having support, my bowl would get all misshapen. Once I've scored my entire bowl, I want to set that aside and do the same thing to my coil. I'm going to take both areas that are scored and connect them together. Now that my coil is scored and my base is scored, I'm going to take my bamboo brush and apply a little water to both sections that are scored. Don't need a lot, just enough to keep it nice and wet. This acts somewhat like a glue to hold the coil to the pot itself. Once I've applied the water, I take my coil and I connect both scored ends together. I press lightly down on my coil to give it a good connection with my base. Now this coil is a little long, so I have to set it down and come back here and score my coil. Once again, apply a little water and continue applying your coil. Once your coil is on, you want to use your hand or your wooden rib and apply pressure to the coil down towards the bowl in order to create a good connection between your coils and your base. Once you've done that, now you want to connect all your coils and your base together by compressing the clay both from the coil to the bowl using either one of your ribs or your hands or your fingers. So with the wooden rib, as an example, I'm going to start here and push and work my way down. Once again, you'll notice on the inside I'm putting my hand in there for support. That way when I push, I don't lose my shape. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on this hand, just enough to counter this hand. And I simply press and combine the coils. The metal rib works the same, but it's a little more flexible, so it'll work with the shape of your bowl nicely as well. My favorite method is just to use my hand. Now that I've gone through and compressed all the clay coils together, you'll notice I have this little bit of pattern left from where my hand was. That's where I can take my metal rib and go through and smooth all that out to give the bowl its shape back. Once again, I don't always have to press real hard, just enough to move the clay. Once you combine the outside coils, you want to go inside and do the same method to the inside coils using any one of your tools. Once again, I like my fingers. And again, my finger marks were left, so I can take my rib and go back through and smooth it out. Now you don't always have to smooth out all the lines left. Maybe you like the way they look, maybe you don't. So you can leave them. Now, I would continue this process of adding coils by scoring and adding what we call slip or water to the clay in order to build the pot up or bowl up. But you can see the shape that it would take. Now, another important thing to take notice of is where you apply your coil. Now, you could put it on the inside of the edge and it'll make your bowl start to curve in, or you can place it directly on top of your wall. It'll make your bowl go up, or you can apply it to the outside edge. See with a little ledge there, and your bowl will go out. So when applying your score marks, apply them to the place that you want your coil to go in order to give the right direction to your bowl. Right now, I'll probably keep going right on top just to build height. Maybe eventually I'll go out, maybe eventually I'll go in.